Imagine mealtime not being so stressful. Imagine being able to cook and eat the same meal as your child. Or if you're a professional working with children, imagine the satisfaction of supporting families and children in picky eating. That is what we are talking all about today. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Holly. I'm a pediatric occupational therapist, and we are currently in a series where we are looking at 25 of the most popular parenting resources, from books to courses to research papers, diving through what they mean, whether I would recommend them, and some of the nuggets we can learn from these courses. So today we are diving into Mealtime Works, which is a course designed by a fellow occupational therapist, Alisha Grogen, and it is all about picky eating. Now, I do have to tell you that I am affiliate for this course, which means if you do decide to purchase the course, I do earn a few pennies from that. I have the link to come and sign up for the course down below, but let me tell you a little bit more about what it is. So Mealtime Works was designed by Alisha after years and years and years of working with picky eaters and really trying to find a way to support families who needed therapy or maybe couldn't access it, as well as those that were in therapy and kind of just supporting the parent's journey alongside their child in terms of picky eating. So this course is designed in kind of stages. It works through how she approaches picky eating. So this course kind of works through a formula that Alisha uses when she is treating and working with children that are picky eaters. Now, if you're wondering what that means, picky eater, we're generally talking about children who have a limited amount of food that they eat. We have children that are really at the extreme edge of this, that we are needing to put medical interventions in place in order to just sustain our child's nutrition. And then we have children that are like kind of on the end of this. So if you're saying that my child just doesn't like tomatoes, but they eat basically everything that we eat, I would say that you don't really have a full picky eater. This is really a course designed for children that are eating, say, less than 25 foods. So it gives a full therapeutic breakdown of all of the research, of all of the kind of protocols that we would follow for these children. But Alisha has broken it down in a way that it's easy to digest and understand for parents, educators, and therapists. The main point of the course, or the purpose of it, is to support the child from being with a very limited diet until the point of having much more variety within what they eat. Alisha actually had a picky eater herself. So not only has she been training parents and educators and therapists online for years, but she's also been through it in her own home and then obviously in her practice as an occupational therapist as well. I've just been through the course and I wanted to share with you 3 really big takeaway points that Alisha does share through this course. And I'm going to share these really in like a broad overview. But the first is that pressure in meal times can be very difficult for children and actually discouraging. So we often don't realize how much pressure we put on our children. We often are encouraging them to take just one more bite, or take a bite of this and then you get this, or make sure that you eat half of it and then you get some kind of a reward. And we put all of these kind of rules around food, which makes actually the eating process, especially for picky eaters, really, really stressful. I think a lot of these processes that we put in place, we don't even realize that we're doing it. So part of this course is really looking at the division of labor when it comes to food, and looking at whose responsibility it is to put the food on the table and whose responsibility it is to actually eat the food. And Alisha basically builds in like an environment of ideas of how you can be supporting food, using the environment and supporting picky eating without actually putting pressure on your child. So one of the things that I really like is she talks about like having kind of family tapas evenings or bars where you're putting all of the food on the table. So there's already the first step of exposure for your child, but not necessarily that they're needing to eat it or that it would be on their plate, which can often just cause a bit too much stress. Another point that she brings up in the course, which I really agree with and love, is this topic of exposure. So she talks about all kinds of different ways that we can be exposing children to food without putting that pressure on to eat it. So again, bringing in family meals. She has all kinds of ideas for cooking with your children. She also has a whole section within the course on the underlying causes for picky eating, and a big focus here on sensory processing. And she really goes into depth in terms of the videos, in terms of the handouts that she gives on how sensory processing could be influencing our child's picky eating, and then how to be exposing them to food textures, but also to other textures so that they are less sensitive to the textures of the food that we are giving. The course also has a big focus on increasing the variety of foods that we present to our children and that we offer them to eat. And she has in here menu ideas, meal plans, and all kinds of strategies that we can be using our home to not overwhelm us to feel like we need to be cooking all of these things that also we don't eat, but to be providing a balance of safe foods that our children eat. We don't want to starve our children, but then also giving them some variety on the side in a way that is less pressure for them and then also for us. Now, you might be wondering, who is this course for? I think that the idea when she built it was originally for parents because she has worked with so many parents. But as a therapist, this course, I really believe that educators and anyone that is working within that multidisciplinary team for children should be taking this course. I, as an occupational therapist who has worked with picky eating for years in many different kinds of environments, still learned a lot from this course. It also does come with 10 hours or 1 CEU, which is aorta approved. So if you are an occupational therapist, you can get that credit. I believe for speech and language therapists, you can also put this as CMHs. So you can put it also towards your CEU hours. But again, for educators too, I really think that this is a course that can benefit us in terms of serving our children. Picky eating is one of those things that impacts so much of our children's lives. So I was reading something the other day that said that moms are cooking for like 68 minutes a day that we spend in the kitchen. And it also impacts so much of what a family is able to do according to what their child eats. So many of the families I've worked with have told me things like, we can't go on holiday because they don't eat the food at any hotels, and it's too hard to go to restaurants, and it's too hard to stop for food. So we just don't go on holiday. Also, when our children, we are not sure that they are having enough nutrition, there's a lot of activities that we naturally limit. So whether it is really that extreme picky eating or just that like fussiness that makes life more difficult, when we are working with families and we are like that first point of contact that they're coming into contact with, if we can be giving them informed advice around how they can be supporting that picky eating journey, even if it's just a few kind of ideas and then sending them to a specific therapist or a feeding clinic, it makes such a huge difference. I know when I studied, we did discuss some level of picky eating at university, but really not enough to be able to really impact the families that we are working with. So for me, I think this course is amazing for OTs and speech and language therapists. If you haven't delved into like any certified courses on picky eating, then this is definitely a course to choose. And as well as educators and parents, I think this course, the amount of information she gives, the accessibility of the course with its videos, with its like demonstration videos and kind of like how-tos, with the amount of research that she backs up all of her suggestions. And then also she has like really, really good handouts that you can actually like print out with how-tos, with summaries, as well as transcripts. I think that it really is a fantastic course, and I have it linked down below. So if you are interested in learning more about picky eating, if you are a parent that is wanting to solve the picky eating and the kitchen drama in your own house, I would really recommend this course. You can come check out the link down below.